What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. As many of you probably know, we just had the 2023 Nugget hunt up on the North Fork of the Yuba River, and I just had a great time. There was a lot of people out there and I got to meet a lot of you and talk to a lot of you, and it was really cool. I did a pretty good job. I found a pretty decent amount of gold out there, but I was just having so much fun that I didn't get my camera out. I was too busy swinging my detector and finding gold, and I was sniping and finding gold. So I figured I'll just go ahead and recap the weekend, show you some pictures, show you the gold that I found, and just talk about how great of a time it was. And if you didn't go this year, hopefully you'll be able to make it next year. It's a really good time. So if you were on the fence about it this year, I definitely recommend going next year. So let's take a look at some of the gold that I got this year, and I'll show you some other pictures as well. The first thing I want to show you, which I think is super cool, is this mercury covered gold that I had found. I was out sniping in the middle of the river and I had found these pockets of really packed rock that had basically what looked like rust in them, and so I started working in them and I did find the rust and I found the gold, and I ended up finding this mercury covered gold here, and it wasn't like mercury balls, it was more like a mercury amalgam. So you could tell that the mercury had captured something and it was just mixed in there. Some of them were just this loose amalgam, while some of the other pieces, like this one here on the left, really looked like basically a nugget with mercury on it. And when I dropped it in my hand, you could actually feel the weight. Like, it was heavy. So it was a pretty good indication that there was going to be gold in there. So I was really excited to get that mercury off of it. This other piece on the right here is basically rusted metal with mercury amalgam attached to it. And what that ended up being was just an amalgam with all this really fine gold in it. You can see all that really fine gold here, just around the pan. All this really fine stuff, that all came out of basically the amalgam balls or clumps that were in here, as well as this one piece that's attached to the iron. So this piece right here is that one nugget that was covered in the mercury, so you can see how well that cleaned up. It's super cool. It's a nice chunky piece, and you can see that there's still some really fine pieces of gold attached to it, and I think that's just from it being mixed up with that mercury and the gold just kind of sticking to it. But this is a super cool piece. Let's weigh this one up. So that comes up to 0.585 grams. So yeah, I just found this one down in a little pocket sniping, and you can actually see there's a little bit of host rock or quartz there kind of towards the top, right around there. Super cool. This piece is really interesting. This is the one piece that had the iron on it, and it still has the iron on it on the bottom side here, and all that mercury was up here on the top. So I cleaned all this gold off with nitric acid, and so if I was to leave it in there longer, all this stuff probably would have come off, but this is a super cool piece. We can weigh it. You know, there's a lot of iron on here, so what it weighs isn't really accurate to anything, but 0.38, and I'm sure most of that's probably just the other rocks and whatnot that are attached to it. Still really cool. This is a cool piece. Kind of like a man-made specimen. And here's all of the gold that I got on the first day. This was all covered in mercury. Some of it was clean, some of it had mercury on it, but I didn't have a second snuffer bottle to put all my mercury gold in, so it all just got totally covered in mercury by the end of the day. But I basically cleaned this off with nitric acid, and that's a trick that I learned from my buddies Rob and Braden. So thank you both for sharing that with me. This worked out really well. You can see all that fine gold mixed in there was mixed in with those amalgam chunks that I was telling you about. So let's go ahead and weigh this up. This is all the gold that I got on day one of the nugget hunt. Let's get this iron piece out of there. 1.905. So I'd say that's not bad at all for one day. For me, I am very happy with that. All right, let's look at the rest of the gold from the trip. So on day two, I did both metal detecting and sniping. We went up to a spot where I really wasn't expecting to find any gold because I had been there before and I've seen so many other people hit this place with their metal detectors. I really wasn't expecting to find any gold. But I was going up with my SDC this year, and I hadn't taken that machine up there before I was using my gold monster. So I did find 3 pieces of gold in this place that I was not expecting to find. And then I also found a couple other pieces while I was sniping later in the day. So let's take a look at the gold from day 2. This is the very first piece that I found, and the way that I found this one is I actually took my pick and was scraping away the top material just to see if there was any gold that was maybe a little bit lower. I was just basically trying to get closer to the decomposed bedrock, and it actually paid off, and this was the very first piece that I found. And I cleaned these up with Diet Coke, so they got a nice clean shine to them. So that's the first one. The second one I found is this piece right here. It's got a little thickness to it. And the way that I found this one is I was detecting in a spot that I have seen like 10 people swing their detectors over the same spot, but there was a rock that was sitting there that I guess nobody kicked over this rock. So I kicked the rock over, and no joke, right under that rock, I pulled out this target right here. Make sure you're kicking over rocks, because a lot of people just don't kick them over, and then you find a target like this. And the third one that I found up there was actually this piece right here, and believe it or not, I was just swinging my detector over a hole that somebody else had clearly dug and was working, and I think that they were chasing this piece right here because I pulled this piece out of a hole that somebody else had already dug looking for this target. That's what's nice, is I was watching the people who were working there, they were all using gold monsters, and the mineralization in the ground in that area is just so bad that it's really hard to distinguish good targets from just trash mineralization targets. So I think the SDC is really the reason that I was able to get this one, is I just didn't have a bunch of distracting targets. So these are the 3 pieces of gold that I found detecting basically within 20 feet of each other on day 2. So let's go ahead and weigh these up. First piece was 0.1 grams. Our second piece brings it up to 0.27, so that one was 0.17 grams. And our third piece brings it up to 0.365, so that was 0.095. Am I doing my math right? I'm trying to do live math here. No, 0.095. So metal detecting on day 2, we came out with 0.365 grams. All right, and then I did a little bit of sniping that afternoon. And the first piece that I found sniping was this piece right here, which is a nice flake, and it's got a little bit of thickness to it. And I found this in a spot you wouldn't really expect to find gold. It was a smooth bowl in the bedrock, but the rocks looked like they were packed, and I actually had found a rusted wing nut in there. So that showed that there were heavy objects sticking into that one spot. I wasn't expecting to find anything, but I cleaned out the bedrock, waved all the cobble off of the bedrock, and it was real smooth, and there was this nice big flake just sitting there. So that was a pretty interesting one. And then this last piece of gold that I found on day 2, this is a really cool one right here. It's got a lot of character to it. There was this really big boulder that was covering up this crevice. So I borrowed my buddy Braden with Mayhem Prospecting. I borrowed his pry bar. I used that to get the big boulder out of the way, and this crevice just kept going and going and going. It was actually pretty deep. I had to keep kind of holding my breath and diving to get down in there. And I ended the day off with this nice chunky one right here. I found this one about 30 minutes before the actual Nugget Hunt event that started at 4 o'clock, which was really exciting. All right, so let's go ahead and weigh up the sniping pieces. So the first sniping piece I found was 0.175 grams, and the second one brings it up to 0.35. So 0.175, are they both 0.175? Okay, 0.180, 0.175. 0.345 for the total sniping pieces found on day 2. And my very last piece of gold was found on day 3, Sunday, the day after the official Nugget Hunt day. And we went back to the spot that we were metal detecting on day 2, and surprisingly I found another good sized piece out of there. It's kind of like a ball, like small nugget piece. So let me show you that one. And this is the last piece of gold of the 2023 Nugget Hunt for me. You can see it's got some thickness to it. It's a nice little chunky piece. and I was happy to find it. I'm always happy to find gold. So yeah, this is the last piece of gold for me for the 2023 nugget hunt. Let's weigh it up. And it comes in at 0.215. So let's see what our total weight was for the 2023 nugget hunt. Okay, all of our gold from day one. And I'll take out this iron piece because it doesn't really count. All of our gold from day two, 2.615. And then the last piece from day three gives us a total of 2.825. So as far as how well we did on the gold, I would say that is a very successful weekend for me. I'm more than happy with how much gold that I found, and I just had an amazing time with the 2023 nugget hunt. Huge thanks to Tim with Blue Lead Gold Productions for setting up the 2023 nugget hunt, and to Todd and all those guys for setting up Camp America, where we had the event at 4 o'clock. Everybody who brought gifts to give away and to just share with the gold prospecting community, thank you so much. If you didn't make it to the nugget hunt this year, I really hope you're able to make it next year. It just gets bigger and bigger every year, and we have more area to prospect thanks to those who share their claims in that area. And if you were at the nugget hunt this year and you found some gold, go down in the comments and let me know how much you found. I'd love to hear your stories and see how y'all did. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you on the next video.